Alright, hello and welcome to another Marvel Snap video. So, last month you guys seemed to enjoy me reviewing the cards coming out, and as I figure it's coming to the end of the month, we have Ares coming out today as you're seeing it. I thought it would be a good idea to go over all the cards that I reviewed last month, see how well I rated them based off now us playing them. Obviously I won't be able to rate Ares, but and then looking at the next month, looking at the season pass card and the cards coming out in the spotlight caches, and then grading them again. So when I did this review, I did it right before Rocket came out, so I also reviewed Rocket. I said I thought he would be a strong card, like an 8 out of 10. I think I definitely overrated him, but I think my points still kind of stand. He has definitely fallen into the meta as a generically good card. You see him in a lot of just generic decks, similar decks that you would just kind of see like a Cassandra Nova. He's just a good turn 3 play. So he's a 3/3 if he steals power. He's a 3/4 and afflicts -1. The only thing really hurting him is Luke Cage is extremely prevalent right now, which is because of a few reasons. But so he's hurting from that, but he is just a generically good 3-drop that can get big, be annoying for your opponent, and then can move, so it can also get into hard to reach locations. So I'd say that he's definitely maybe like a 7 out of 10, but I would still say a fairly good card, so a little overrated but still strong. And then before I get into the spotlight caches, I didn't review Iron Patriot. I did not do that in the video. However, that was a terrible oversight in my decision, because I didn't consider how insanely strong he was going to be and how he was going to warp the meta around him. This man right here is a problem. The issue is that you play him on turn 2, you get a random 4, 5, or 6 cost card, and then if you win that location next turn, you get -4. Everyone knows the card. Everyone has probably seen the card more than they want to see this card. The fact that you can get a 0 cost 4-drop is insane. Like, that's just crazy. And a lot of the times people just don't contest the Iron Patriot lane for some reason and let you get it, as if you aren't giving yourself a massive disadvantage for having a -4 cost card in your opponent's hand. So the fact that Iron Patriot is so strong kind of warped how I viewed the other cards, because I assumed he would be an okay card, not a meta-breaking card. Specifically when looking at Victoria Hand, I said she was a 5 out of 10. I said she was going to be a fun card, that if you like generating cards, she'd be good. Yeah, that would be true based off the previous meta, not considering that the best card to ever generate cards also came out at the same time as her, making the meta generate cards and go crazy. So Victoria Hand currently is like an 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10. An amazing card, borderline must-have card with an Iron Patriot deck and Collector. You combine that with cards like Mirage and Frigga, Mirage generating you cheap cards that also get boosted power, Frigga letting you duplicate Victoria Hand, which means that the Victoria Hand, the second one, gets buffed by herself, so she's a 2/7. It gets really weird and can like spiral out of control. So currently in the meta, she is extremely strong. I don't think she is innately extremely strong, hence I gave her a 5 out of 10. I think just the cards around her being so strong makes her like the linchpin that holds everything together. The card that then came out next was Moonstone. I said she would be a decently strong card, but in very select uses, specifically looking at Patriot as the main deck you would see her in, since, you know, you play Patriot on 3, Mystique on 4, Moonstone on 5, and then you get 10 power bots when you play Ultron. I am still confused as to how that deck isn't more popular, because it's 40 power to both lanes, and Cosmo isn't really being played a lot. Red Guardian is, but it's still like you can work with that. Like you're able to work around that. It's not that detrimental. So I'm surprised that deck isn't prevalent. However, where Moonstone has seen her biggest relevance is copying Victoria Hand's ability. That just copying this card and you get all your value. Because the decks run her and Quinjet, so if you don't pull Victoria Hand, you can pull Quinjet to get -2 on all your added cards to hand. So basically everything that Iron Patriot spawns will be at worst a 4-drop, at best 1 or 0. And then you have cards like Valentina that are running the deck. So those 6-drops end up being 1-drops or 2-drops. So Moonstone just enhances that deck further. Not a necessary piece, but a strong piece. I said she would be a 7 out of 10. It depends on the cards around her, and as more cards come out, she will obviously get stronger. I think that was accurate, but I was correct for the wrong reasons. I thought she would be good in Patriot and just make that deck crazy strong. But she ended up being a really good Victoria Hand buff. Last was Bullseye. I said Bullseye would be an 8 out of 10. I mean, you've experienced the meta. The meta has shifted away from Iron Patriot slightly, because he's still probably the second most popular deck, to just running discard with Bullseye, because Bullseye discards 5 swarms in hand, your Scorn, and 17 Muramasa shards, and then you win the game and inflict -14 because it's funny. Bullseye is very strong. I'll say this. I think that he needs nerfed. Definitely. Like, I think discard is so strong right now. You can be like, oh, just run Luke Cage. It's not the -2 that matters with Bullseye. It's the discard 17 cards and give buffs everywhere to discard. I think you just make it so he only hits 1-cost cards. Don't let him discard free swarms. Like, that's the problem. Let the Muramasa shards go. I think it's fine. But tone back on how much Morbius is getting buffed and how much Collector is getting buffed from it. I think that's a good first step at least, then see how everything shakes out from there. But I might have underrated Bullseye saying he's only an 8 out of 10. He's very strong, especially in discard, which is where you would expect to see him. So I'll say I was kind of close on some of them. Iron Patriot being as good as he was kind of messed up the data, but I also didn't review Iron Patriot, so I'm amending that by reviewing Captain America in this one. So with that amendment, we will look at Sam Wilson, Captain America, which is very confusing because it doesn't really say Sam Wilson that large, so it looks like just another Captain America. But he has a very interesting ability of game start, add Cap's shield to a random location, and then ongoing you can move Cap's shield. So basically put this on the field, and then you can Madam Web this boy around the field. Cap's shield says, ongoing, this can't be destroyed. Give your Cap +2 power when this moves to Cap's location. There are 2 Captain Americas, Sam Wilson and normal Captain America. So essentially you could ping pong the shield between that, adding 2 power each when it goes back and forth. And then since this is an ongoing card, it would also get buffed if it ended in the normal Captain America, not Sam Wilson's lane. On paper, it sounds like a very good combo. It adds to Spectrum what Spectrum was missing, which are really good, cheap, ongoing cards, right? A 2/3 ongoing that adds a 1-cost ongoing that's just permanently on the field is extremely good. So just having a free 1/3 if you Spectrum will be strong for the deck. The other thought for this is using it in a move deck. You can move Captain's Shield into a Kraven, into like a Hercules, and get some really wacky bounces going. Maybe get into Sam Wilson more frequently than you should be able to. However, my concern with this is that the moving Captain's Shield is on Sam Wilson. That means that if you do not pull Sam Wilson, this is just sitting in a random location. Which might not be a bad thing for an ongoing deck. You're just happy to have the 1/1 ongoing generally on the board. It could accidentally get into a hard to reach location, like a Sanctum Sanctorum, a Spider Island, Luke's Bar, etc. Which could be good. However, that's not really what your concern is as a ongoing player. Like, ongoing can get into hard to reach locations. That's kind of the thing it does. However, it could also end up in something like far with no name locations you don't really want it to end up in, like a Jotunheim or a negative zone where it would be literally detrimental power. So if you think about it, you really want to play Sam Wilson on 2 to get the moving benefits of him, and you have about a 50% chance of doing that. So 50% of the time, this is just kind of on the field, so I think this card will end up feeling funky. It'll have its pop-off games where YouTubers will clickbait it and go, oh, isn't this card so good? Look at it, it can do 1 billion power. It's going to have equally as many games where it's like, holy shit, this card being in the middle location means I can't go Mr. Fantastic, Moonstone into Captain America and Onslaught to like blow up and do what I want. Like there's going to be equally as many times where this is not where you want it to be and feeling detrimental to you. Especially if you try to use this in a move scenario. You really don't want this card in some locations. Like, it can really mess up what you're doing with move if you're just have a random card here. So I'm hesitant to see how good this, like, I'm hesitant this card will be anywhere near as good as something like Iron Patriot, or even as versatile as something as Kate Bishop. I think it should be a good addition to Spectrum decks, but it'll be a wait and see. I think it's going to be an average card. I'm expecting it to be like a 5 out of 10, a 3 stars out of 5, you know, like a middle of the road card that you're happy to have, but it's not going to be like, oh, I can't play this deck if I don't have the card. Dom is also here to provide some more casual gamer insight that I'm overanalyzing and making his takes sound simple. So he's gonna stay quiet, yep. I suppose.
That's pretty much how that works. Yeah, that's the deck side. I would put it in a Spectrum deck. That's, I think, where it's going to do the best. I think you could also reasonably do it in a Onslaught deck. I don't think it's going to make as big of an impact. But that's just another ongoing card for your Captain America to hit. Just something to clog a lane for an Ant-Man. Stuff like that. But yeah, Spectrum, I agree. I think is going to be that's going to be the moneymaker for that card.
The question is, will it do it well?
That is the question.
So next is the Spotlight Cash card coming out at the same time as Sam Wilson. That is Joaquin Torres Falcon. He is a 3/4 with the ongoing text of I am Wong, but for 1-drops. It's a weird text box, don't ask me about it. So there is a very obvious home for this card, right? It's in bounce. That's where you look to use this card. I am hesitant to say he will be good. Like, I'm thinking about it. If I'm a bounce player, do I want to waste turn 3 playing him? Like, I'm not even thinking about the fact that he runs all the same problems as Wong runs, but for bounce. Like, do I want to use my turn 3 to Joaquin Torres, when instead I could beast and pick up the 3 potential 1-drops that I played on turn 1 and 2? And then you'd be like, well, then you can just play it on turn 4. Do I want to do that when I could Toxin into Black Swan? Well, you could play it on turn 5. Yeah, I guess I could. I could him into Falcon into Black Swan. You're right, but I feel like I missed out on a lot of the value by that point. I could have done it 3 more times with all my bounce cards, and now I'm doing it twice, I guess? Like, I don't know. I'm not a good bounce player, right? But it feels like that's not what I want in my bounce deck. Like, if I'm playing a bounce deck, I'm not thinking, damn it, I didn't put out enough power. Like, my fucking Silver Sable is putting out enough power. She's gonna be a 1/8. Like, I'm not concerned. A 1/8 that inflicted -2 on every card he drew for the entire game. Like, That's annoying. Rocket could be a 113. Nico could make a demon out of Hood. I'm gonna have 5 hoods in hand, or 5 demons in hand. Like, you know, like, it's not power that's a concern, really. And then the other thing is, right, you're looking at on-reveal 1-drops. Let me look at what on-reveal 1-drops exist that I'm like, oh yeah, that's the one. Like, okay, that's a terrible way of looking at it. So you have Hood, so you get 2 demons. That's okay, I guess. Silver Sable, that'll be good. It's just generically good. Rocket would be good if your opponent plays into that lane. Assuming they played into that lane and didn't play an Enchantress or Cosmo to, you know, turn off your Wong. You have Hawkeye, but bounce players aren't really playing Hawkeye right now. And then you look at Spider-Ham, literally does nothing for have his ability twice. Iceman's okay, I guess, but really not seen in many decks, many bounce decks. None of these are seen in bounce decks. Yeah. So Bast does nothing. So you're looking at getting a second demon, getting another Silver Sable, getting a extra rocket hit. Like, the value you're looking at for the cards you actually want to play in there, like, maybe Nico could be good. Like, right, you could get the double up to make her a 1/8, or you could get the give +2, could give +4. Nico might see value there. I just don't know. It just seems so strange. Like, maybe it's gonna be seeing use in a different deck entirely and not this, but most of the bounce cards don't really utilize it that well. Because you'd also be looking at a lot of bounce decks now run Kate Bishop, so you're looking at a basic arrow would be the only arrow that would get benefit from it, because it's literally Hawkeye is a basic arrow. And like, yeah, that could be good. You could do that and then play another card. I don't know, it just seems to add a lot of unnecessary clunk to the deck that like isn't really needed. I don't know, Dom, if you're seeing something different than what I'm seeing.
Yeah, honestly, I think for all of the same reasons you just listed, I also would not run it at bounce. I think you could almost run it in some kind of like, yeah, I'm just going to play a bunch of cards to be a jerk. I think you could run a Yondu, an Iceman, stuff like that. That's just, these are obnoxious cards. I don't know how good it's going to be. Like, there aren't a lot of 1-drops that I'm like, yes, that's huge to get a second hit on a non-reveal.
The only thing I was looking at, like, because similarly, like, I don't see it in balance, but maybe another deck. The only thing I looked at is, like, it might be, like, something to look at in, like, a Darkhawk deck, maybe. You can get double Korgs hits, and you could try to run some, like, annoying tech, like an Iceman or something, right? Or like Ronin, one of those two, to just kind of be annoying.
Yeah.
But
not great though.
Wong isn't a very good card. I can't imagine making Wong's ability, but in an even more niche scenario, will make him a good card. He'll have just the same funny, crazy highlights, like, look at this 35 power rocket. Like, cool. You got him. Like, I don't know. I guess I'm not the YouTuber that's making those clickbait videos. I'm making the I want to consistently win games deck and use decks that people don't see very often. So, like, that's not my cup of tea, I guess. I expect him to be an okay card. I would say like a 4 out of 10, 2.5 star review. Like, I don't think he's gonna define any meta. I think you'll see him around. I think you'll be annoyed that you lost a game to him, and then at the same time you'll laugh at the person because playing Joaquin Torres actively lost them the game. Like, I really don't see it with this card. And you're gonna notice that for a lot of cards this month. It's kinda sad. Alright, now to look at the problem child of the month. Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross. The man himself. The 2/2 legend. When your opponent ends a turn with unspent energy, draw a card with 10 or more power. So, before we say anything more, I want to remind you of a card that is in the game right now. I want everyone to remember that this card is in the game. He exists, but he does a very similar thing, except he's not allowed to be good. It's frowned upon if this man is good. Because,
you're not salty about that at all.
Oh yeah, not at all. It just doesn't make sense, right? They have stated on multiple occasions that deck thinning is extremely valuable, right? Any way to make your deck more consistent is good, especially in a 12-card deck. The effect is like exaggerated exponentially, as opposed to like a Magic the Gathering or something like that where you have a 40-card deck. Like, right? Being able to draw one more card means your deck is like 25% more consistent because you only end the game with like 3 or 4 cards in your deck. So that's why you see Adam Warlock be bad, and why you see cards like America Chavez get nerfed into the ground. Like, it's not something that should be easy to come by. But you want to know what was deemed a really strong thing that happens all the time? Your opponent wasting energy. That's something that happens all the time. So much so that this card was nerfed multiple times because people just do it all the time. Like, you sometimes just can't not waste energy. And I know what you're going to say. Well, this was before people were building with Wiccan. When I play Wiccan on 4, you want to know what I do the very next turn? I waste fucking energy. Because, dear God, I'm not going to be able to play out exactly 7 energy the next turn. So, I think Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross is going to be a very strong card. Obviously, you're looking at running him in a Scar deck, but like that's an ounce of extra consistency in that deck that like it didn't need, right? You can play Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross on 2, then play Surtur on 3. If your opponent wastes energy on 2 or 3, guess what? You're drawing a 10 power card, so that could be your Crossbones, Cull Obsidian, Typhoid Mary, hell, your Scar, your whatever 6-drop that you're running, maybe your fucking Red Hulk, and now your Red Hulk's popping off, getting 3 power because your opponent wasted energy as well. Like, and, right, deck thinning is supposed to, drawing cards is an extremely valuable resource, but they attach it to the world's easiest condition. Like, everyone wastes energy. There are a lot of bad players in the game that just don't manage their energy properly. And guess what? There's games where you just can't pop your Wiccan. Like, that happens just as much as popping your Wiccan in Wiccan decks that are, like, actively trying to, you know, not waste energy. So, I have a hard time seeing this card being bad ever. Dom?
Yeah, as long as that text line, specifically how you activate it, stays the same, I think that's going to be a very strong card. Yeah, Wiccan decks, great. You play it perfectly. You play Wiccan on 4. There's no way you spend all your energy on 5 and 6. I guess the 6 doesn't matter, but the turn 5, there's no way. And I think that's another tool for Surtur, who seems to be getting a lot of cards.
A lot of tools
upcoming
in the
here.
toolbox.
Yeah. But yeah, that just seems like a generically very strong card.
I will say, the one thing that, like, makes me hesitant to say this card will be broken is draw a card with 10 or more power. Right? We're looking in a vacuum saying it's going in a Surtur deck. You want to know what card really fucks up Surtur decks? Cassandra Nova bucks Surtur decks. And that would break this card.
True.
The other side of that coin is, like, I'm not seeing Cassandra Nova that often right now. Like, it's not a very popular card. Maybe it comes back in popularity because of this card. But to have to run Cassandra to fix this problem seems not ideal in a lot of scenarios. So I will be interested. I think this card's going to be strong. I think it's going to be like an 8 out of 10. I think by this point, with Ares also already being out, even though Ares isn't a card that can be drawn with this, Ares will be drawn more consistently if 10 drops get pulled out of the deck. I think that you will see Surtur on the rise, Scar on the rise as a premium deck to be running, especially because he doesn't have, it's a generic text box, so it's not like it's only getting hit by Red Guardian. So you have to Cosmo or play something under it, which this deck already runs Cosmo, so it's not asking for much. And you could hide it with 1-drops that you're running in this deck, like a Hood or something, because Hood isn't uncommon to run in the deck either. I think he will be a very strong card. So to follow up what might be the best card of the season, let's look at what will almost assuredly be the worst card of the season. If this card turns out to be good, I will be absolutely fucking stunned. I expect this card to be a 1 out of 10 at best. At best, I think it's a 1 out of 10. And that's Redwing, which is hilarious because if you haven't been paying attention and you looked at the leaks when they first got data mined, you'd be thinking I'm insane. Because Redwing's text used to be absolutely crazy, if I can find it. Yeah. It used to be a 1/2 with the on reveal, return one of your other 1-drops here to hand and give it +2 power. Which, with Joaquin Torres, would have picked up both 1-drops from the lane, given both +2 power. It would have been a really strong card in bounds. But now it's a card. It has the text, the first time this moves, add a card from your hand to the old location. There's so much in this card text that I think is just so funny. Can you guys think of another card text that says the first time this card moves? That's right. The answer was Spider-Man 2099. And he's terrible. He's been buffed, 3 times? It's still bad. Just really not good card. And so, yeah, I suspect Redwing will suffer from the similar thing. The plus side of Redwing is it cheats a card into play. So let's talk about that aspect of it. What move card do you want to cheat into play that you can't just play out? The answer would be maybe Spider-Man 2099. That might be the best card you could cheat out. The other side of that is there are so many bad cards that you don't want to cheat out your Heimdall. You don't want to cheat out your Iron Fist. You don't want to cheat out your Ghost Spider. There are so many bad cards that you don't want him to activate on that are equally possible in that deck. And then the other side would be well, you wouldn't want to cheat in a move deck, so don't run him in a move deck. I have to move the card. I still have to run move cards wherever he is in order to move the goddamn guy. So what do I do? I run fucking Ghost Spider and Iron Fist and Redwing in a fucking cheat deck to try and get out an Infinite for free? I guess. It's cool. What do I do with him? Am I missing something, Dom?
No, see, that's a card that just looks comedically bad.
That was the whole statement?
Spider-Man 2099 is bad because, well, I guess not because it only happens once. That's part of it. He can't move himself. You have to do something else. And, let's be real, if you're playing him, it's probably just a 5.
God, can we talk about that for a buff to Spider-Man 2099 on a small tangent? What if they just let him move?
Let him move once.
Let him be a 5/6 or something, right? Go under Vision, who's a 5/5 that can move. Let him be 5/5 or something. That can just move and fucking destroy a card. Give him the 1 move, destroy it, just fucking murder something. That'd probably be a little strong. Maybe that would be a little much.
That would be playable, though, because right now he's not.
At least it would be good.
This is the exact same problem. It's just exacerbated. Because at least, nuking one of the opponent's cards generally is good.
At least having a 9-power body is
there's
generally
exceptions,
good.
generally. But this guy, it's like, yeah, I'm playing this on turn 3. I don't know why. And I'm pulling a card that generally you don't want to pull a move card.
Could I run him in Surfer? Is there a move Surfer?
How are you moving him? What is the move card? You still have. That's the problem with him, is he doesn't move on his
Web
own.
Is the move card.
I guess.
Like, you could run him with that, with a Vulture, a Hercules. Hold on, we might be cooking. We might be cooking.
Okay.
We might have something here. Wait. Is there any other move cards in the 3-drop slot? Anything?
Sure there are.
Rocket. Those are remove, not move. Juggernaut, that doesn't help. That move still doesn't really help. Cards that we want to move for payoffs. Yeah, alright.
Yeah.
Thought we might have maybe had a little bit going here. We don't.
Hmm. R.I.P.
Yeah. Maybe not. Maybe we're not cooking there.
Yeah, I mean, it's only pulling one card from your hand, too. Like, I get cheating cards in as super strong,
Cheat
but
the
like
entire hand into the previous location.
Oh.
Just fucking fill the thing.
That would be horrible. No, I'm
It
saying
might not
like
be that bad.
just give him the move on his
playable.
own. He cheats one card in, like that would be a strong card.
Yeah, 3/3.
Well, right
with
now
a,
he's unplayable.
A 3/3 with the move on its own and just fucking yoink a random, like, give it
Right.
the Rocket Raccoon treatment of it can move once, Nocturne.
It can move once, and the first time it moves, it pulls a card.
That could be
But
interesting.
you're running that like a what's her face, like a Jubilee. Like that's your 3-cost Jubilee. It's just your hand, not your deck.
Yeah, okay. That could be maybe too strong. I
Yeah,
could see
probably,
that
but,
being
like,
too much, because then you would just run it in like Hella, and God forbid Hella doesn't need
Sure.
more consistency.
Yeah, all right. I take that back. Everything I said.
I don't know.
It needs.
I think the
something.
text is just like ass. I think what they saw was, holy shit, this text is fucking insane. And then they're like, alright, we need to fix that real quick. So let's just fucking murder the card. Like, it can't be broken if it's actually unplayable. Like, I genuinely believe that Redwing could be like a 3/6, and he might not see play still. He would see play explicitly because he is just a fucking massive body. Yeah, so that's Redwing. He's bad. Alright, last but not least, my personal favorite card coming out this season is Diamondback. Ongoing enemy cards here, afflicted with negative power, have an additional -2 power. So I will say I am excited for this deck. However, I am not excited for the decks that this will likely be good in. I don't want to play against more Anti-Venom. I don't have the card, and that deck makes me sad. However, Diamondback looks like a super fun card. It can be used in a lot of different decks, in my opinion. Right, you have the Anti-Venom deck, which I think makes a lot of sense for her to be in, because generally it plays Luke Cage and then a 0-cost Man-Thing. Could be a Diamondback, could be a US Agent. So then playing 2 of those in the same lane, basically, you know, double down, winning that lane. And then you could play out, on the previous turn, you could play out your Ajax or something, right? So you mutilate a lane and then go really big in the other. You could also just run him in more generic Affliction decks, like a High Evil Affliction deck, where you're going to play Hazmat. So literally just playing Diamondback on the field is beneficial, because every card will be hit with -1 at some point. Also, the fact that she is not a symmetrical effect is amazing. The fact, like, you don't have to think about, oh crap, I can't have negative cards here because she'll impact me. I'm very happy about that. I think she'll be I think she'll be an enhancement tool that'll put some decks over the top, but it's not going to be you need this card for the deck to work. In Anti-Venom, right, you don't need her for that deck to work. In Affliction High Evo, you don't need it. In non-High Evo Affliction, you might need it. I don't know. I don't think that deck's really a thing. But I think she's just going to enhance the Affliction decks and will be a nice tool in the toolbox for a lot of the decks. I think she's probably a solid card. I think she's maybe a 6 out of 10 where it helps out a lot but isn't a mandatory card. Dom?
Yeah, so I heard you say this looks like a super fun card, and I think we have very different play styles. Because I don't think this is going to be fun at all. I think this is going to be miserable. I think it's going to be a very strong card in all the same decks you just listed. It's Affliction. But man, is that going to be obnoxious to play against.
See, I don't even think it's going to be like that hard. Like, there's so much going against this card being insane. She's a 3/3 with an ongoing text. She loses
there are a lot of
to
ways to get rid
Rogue,
of it.
Enchantress. She's a pretty easy Red Guardian target with only 3 power. Like,
Yeah.
I think
You
there's a
slap
lot.
on a Luke Cage anywhere, and
Yeah, Luke Cage,
That's
just
that.
period. So I think there's a lot going against her being a broken card.
yeah. I think she is
say
very
Rogue?
strong in the deck you'd play her in. Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's see.
but like I said, it's an enhancement tool. If anything, you might be happy to play her and have her get hit by the Red Guardian, because then you're like, cool, that means my US Agent and my Man-Thing aren't getting hit by that card. Like, it might just be an accepted sacrifice, and like, you'd be kind of okay with that. Because if they don't hit that card, then it's on the field and it's going to be annoying for your opponent either way. But yeah, that's the last card coming out this month. So hopefully I do a little bit better than last month. I didn't do terrible last month, but didn't do great. If you guys have any thoughts on these cards, let me know in the comments. And as always, subscribe if you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.